Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
If I were the president, I wouldn't cooperate with these guys at all. I'm the same guy that said you can't fire Mueller. I encouraged him to work with Mueller. Mueller is a man of the law. Schiff, Nadler, and Pelosi impeached this president in 48 days. I wouldn't give them the time of day. They're on a crusade to destroy this man. And they don't care what they destroy in the process of trying to destroy Donald Trump.
Lindsay Graham, ladies and gentlemen, he was just on fire. All of them were very excited yesterday and continuing forward today and tomorrow. The excitement will continue to build as they go on and talk about stuff. Oh, my goodness. Let's hear some more of the excitement. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, your friend and I's, Chuck Schumer.
Adam Schiff's speech was one of the most compelling I have heard. It was a tour de force. And I think that a good number of my Republican colleagues, for the first time, heard the entire arguments powerfully, succinctly, and completely.
Really? They paying that much attention? Let me tell you what's going on, guys. How much is America paying attention? About 3% of the population has tuned in. About 11.1 million people. Right? That's it. Let me give you guys a snapshot of what that looks like in reality. NCIS, Monday night, 11.3 million people. Are you soaking that in? 11.3 million people. The NFC championship game on Fox, 46 million people. I talked to two people yesterday who were there, and they're bored out of their minds. They're bored out of their minds. It is, how many times can you say something? Today's the same thing, right? So they go through it all, and they yap about it, and they talk about it, and then it's the same thing. How many times can you give the same speech over and over? You're telling a joke that nobody's getting on one side of the aisle, and the other aisle's telling another joke that nobody gets on the other side of the aisle, and the reality is it's still not funny no matter which way you cut it.
And those video clips were being played, specifically the ones of the president and Rudy Giuliani. You could see the senators pike up their interest, pay attention, all eyes looking up. Otherwise, many times throughout the day, they're sitting there taking notes, deliberately paying attention. Some, perhaps a few rule breakers in there doing other activities throughout the day, playing a crossword puzzle, for example.
Playing a crossword puzzle. But it's supposed to be, it isn't. There's nothing new. Most of America, disinterested. They've made up their mind, right? So the people that would pay attention, that you would think would be paying attention, they're doing other things. Some of the people that are paying attention, they've already made up their mind. They just want to see their team score points. This got to score points. How do we score points? What do we do to score points? Nothing's going to happen that's going to change people's minds at this point. And it doesn't matter if you change a few people who are independent in their thinking, because what matters is the bases are entrenched in their areas. They're not going anywhere. They're sticking with the team, right? They're dancing with who brung them. And because of that, what you bring to the table, even if you eventually have a chance to bring in new evidence, and the big thing is witnesses, right? Like, that's the big thing. Got to get witnesses. Got to get witnesses. How do we get more of this? How do we get more of that? That's the big thing. That's what they're hoping for. The Democrats are hoping that America looks and says, you know what? We need to see more witnesses. We need more evidence. We need all of these things. So let's do that. Bring this in. And then maybe people will go, oh, well, I didn't know that, or I didn't know that. But here's the thing. Trump's come out and he's just said, look, yeah, I did that. This is what I did. And they got this. They got the stuff they needed. Obama, he gave him $120 million, but that was for non-lethal aid. I gave him $300 million in lethal aid. I asked for them to do something. Right? At the end of the day, they got what they needed. He's not denying it. What they're trying to figure out is all the other things. They're trying, that's just it. There's always, got to put this together. It's not going to work. It isn't. That's the reality of it. It's not going anywhere. It's not going to work the way that they think because we're, as a nation, not interested. And we should be because it's only the third time in the history that this has happened. But the reality is it's the third time in history, but because we are so divided, we are so tribal that we see this as a foregone conclusion that he's going to be acquitted in the sense that he's not going to be removed and that there'll be a race come November and he'll be on the Republican ticket. Here's some of the words that people are saying. Disinterested is big. Disgusted with the fighting. Hyper-partisan. Just a few things that people are throwing out there. Yeah, I agree with most of those, right? But the disinterest thing is huge. Now, if they're able to bring witnesses in, right, and John Bolton's kind of the big thing that they're talking about, if they're able to bring him and a few others in and introduce some other stuff, is that going to get some people interested? Some people who are fence sitters, and there's not a lot of people out there anymore because Trump is one of those people that you either love him or hate him. There's not a lot of people out there who can compartmentalize him and say, I can go, case by case and look at him and say, well, I don't like what you did here, but I like what you did here. But the reality is most of us have made up our minds, and anything new would be, it would be, at this point in time, it's going to be too little too late. Sad but true. Sad but true. So, coronavirus. As we head to something else that's, once again, very interesting. Coronavirus, growing the number of deaths. And again, it's a fluid thing. So, you're hearing 17. There could be 22. It could be, and in China, it's totally a situation where you're not going to get all of the truth. They've closed yet another, they've got two cities now closed, and the province is being watched, and the Wuhan province and everything, and they're closing certain areas in the market and the whole 9 yards. But the numbers, it's very interesting to see the way that they're letting stuff trickle out because, again, it's China. So we may not get the full number that's real.
Not even a month ago, we were talking about this as what seemed like a pretty localized outbreak in central China. And as you point out, the numbers have changed dramatically just over the last couple of weeks. Even overnight, we've been monitoring this, and the numbers continue to go up. Nearly 300 people have been infected. You can see the number of countries now that are affected, 4 countries. And that's one of the big concerns. How will this thing continue to spread?
Yeah, and it's going to spread. It'll be in the 1,000, by the end of the day. So you get a low grade fever. It's very much like a bad cold or a flu. It's kind of like SARS and MERS, right? The people that have died, of those who have died, a majority of them are over the average age is 73. Right? The people that are affected by this the most, as far as they're in trouble or they're having severe issues where they're hospitalized, those people, like 50% of them have compromised immune system. So most people, it's kind of like a really bad flu or cold, but you're not going to get really sick from it. But it has the potential, especially if you have a compromised immune system, especially if you're a bit older or probably very, very young. But just watching people, oh my God, what's going to happen? And the question is, how do we get, where did it come from?
Is this something that is just spreading from animals to humans, as it seemed to be in central China, people visiting these seafood and exotic pet markets? Or is this something that is spreading from human to human? And we now have evidence that it is spreading from human to human. 14 healthcare workers that were taking care of this patient in Wuhan were infected. And we also know people who never visited Wuhan are now carrying the virus.
Yeah. So they think it could be snakes. That's kind of what they're looking at. It's kind of how MERS and SARS spread. They have the crate and the cobra over there, and they both like to eat bats, and that's how bats are spread the MERS and SARS. So they're thinking that possibly may be it. But again, is it going to kill anybody here? Probably not. right? Could it have spread? They're looking around because the guy that is currently in the hospital had, I think, 14 or 16 people he had close contact with up in Washington. But you got to fly into certain airports now. You're going to have to go through the rigmarole. They want to look. They want to try to contain this, because if you think about this, think of the 6 degrees, right? You're on a plane with somebody, so potentially you could be infecting other people, especially if this thing spreads the way that they're now thinking can. Secondly, you're going to come in contact with other people, and they may get something, and then they'll go and get and see other people who potentially, and it spreads out like the 7 degrees or 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, whatever it is. So that's very interesting. But I don't think it's going to be like the movie Outbreak, where they're going to decide they're going to have to flatten a city because of it. Remember that movie? Dustin Hoffman? Keep going back to it. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Phenomenal. Phenomenal. That is how Conor McGregor described Donald Trump. He's a phenomenal president, sitting on the shoulders of many other greats. He may be and then he's got a goat picture of the USA. So he may be the greatest of all time. Phenomenal. Oh, goodness me. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at us. MyPillow. I did have my MyPillow last night. I ended up staying because I travel a lot and I do so many shows throughout the day. And do shows in the morning and do shows later in the afternoon and early evening, and I'm doing all stuff. So I stayed in my hotel. I did have my MyPillow. I did not sleep well, and let me tell you something. Hotel towels, not the greatest. I don't know who can use some of these things. I was like, is this the hand towel? This is the towel. Now MyPillow's got towels now. Extra soft, super absorbent, luxury feel and look, 5 designer colors, 30 by 56, 16 by 30 hand towels, washcloths as well. Made in the USA, 100% cotton, no fillers, no cheap softeners, 60-day money-back guarantee. You will feel the difference when you use these. Now, this is how you get this amazing deal, because you're going to save 30%. You go to MyPillow.com. There's a new radio listener special. You click on that, type in code Benson. That's MyPillow.com, new radio listener special. Type in code Benson or call 800-983-4975. Promo code is Benson. 60-day money-back guarantee. You will not be disappointed in these. These are amazing. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show, where we reach across the aisle and occasionally poke someone in the eye.
If you get a text message from FedEx notifying you about a package delivery, be careful. FedEx says some people have gotten a text that appears to show a tracking code that asks for delivery preferences. But the link to those preferences takes consumers to a fraudulent site that tries to scam people out of money. FedEx says in a statement that the company doesn't send unsolicited text messages or emails to consumers requesting money, package, or personal information. Any suspicious text messages or emails should be deleted without being opened.
Don't do it. I get at least one of these every 2 days. In fact, I've got, in the last 3 days, I have gotten like 3 or 4 of them. I got 2 yesterday. And it's a super scam. And the problem is, for a lot of people out there, you use, like where I live, because it's rural, FedEx is the only thing that comes to us. We don't have a mailbox. I have a P.O. box. So FedEx is the only things that comes to us. So if you order something on Amazon or whatever it is you're doing, like sometimes I'll order food for the lizards instead of giving them live, food to eat. I'll get what they call mice on ice and stuff like that, and it'll be sent to us, and it's got to be FedEx. So you don't know if it's real or not. But man, so many people are getting taken from this because you think, well, I've ordered some off Amazon or ordered this, and FedEx is probably needing something. No. Same thing with emails. We had it here. It only takes one thing for it to go south. We had one person open up an email here about 3 weeks ago, just right before Christmas, and it infected every computer. And the servers, they had to rebuild all the servers, take everything down. All the computers were destroyed, minus people. But even if you used your laptop and you plugged it in, you were doing stuff, destroyed. So, yeah, it just takes one thing. One thing, and boom, it's gone. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at us. Love hearing from every single one of you. You can text the program. I was laughing. People are still tweeting in about the whole insanity. Just listening to Lindsay Graham and them, just overstate all of this stuff when it comes to impeachment. That was a tour de force by Adam Schiff. It moved people to tears. You're like, really? That is insane. That is, you just sit there, you're like, that's the, and then you've got, they're trying to destroy him. That's all they're trying to do. They're trying to destroy this man. And you're just like, wow, the hyperbole of it all. Somebody else said, is that true about NCIS beating impeachment? Yeah. And think about this. Impeachment is everywhere, 24/7. As they're talking about, right? But what I've noticed in the last couple days is like Fox bounces early. So you have all these TVs up. So we got MSNBC, CNN, Fox, and a local station. And the first, day, everybody was carrying everything all day. Right. Then the second day, they, just the cable were carrying it. But then I noticed like Fox is bouncing. They're like, look, we're going to get more run for our money here than there. And because it's the same thing over and over. That's all it is. They continue to do the same thing over and 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 over. It's the only thing that we're learning new is they're frustrated because they can't have their phones, right? They can't have any of their phones, and they're having like a detachment problem, anxiety. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at us. You can text the program. Love hearing from every single one of you. Check out the Instagram as well. And the chadshow.com has your podcast. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
11 days away from Iowa. 11 days from Iowa. If you're Bernie Sanders and Klobuchar and Elizabeth Warren and you're stuck there 12 hours again throughout today, 12 hours again tomorrow, through Saturday, right? You'll have one day to really get out and do anything. This does not help your campaign. It doesn't. And the person who has a chance to get out there and make noise, right, make some hay, is Joe Biden. And that's what he's doing. Buttigieg is the same way. He's out there. Andrew Yang got himself a new ad.
I'm the only one to build a nonprofit that created thousands of jobs. And here's what I don't have: a lifetime stuck in the politics of Washington. To defeat Donald Trump, we need someone with the experience of tackling the economic challenges of our time. I've done that. I'm Andrew Yang, and I approve this message. Together, we'll rewrite the rules of the new economy so they work for us.
Pretty interesting. He's sounding more comfortable, more presidential-ish. Doesn't have a chance. Right? Oh, Chad, you'd never say never. On this one, I'm going to go out there with a never. Right? I'm not. I think he is very interesting, super smart, and like I said, if I was president, he'd be in my cabinet somewhere in my administration, right? With somewhere working on the economy and the new world and where we're going, help shaping education, because again, we need to teach to where we're going, not where we're at. Too often now, I talk to these kids, I see a lot of young kids, they're learning things that they can learn at any time. We're not teaching them where they're going to be going. Eventually, coding is going to be the manufacturing of the future. Right now, it's like a specialty job. We need to teach where the world is going, not where it's at. Joe Biden, on the other hand, is out there doing Joe Biden-y things.
Beau should be the one running for president, not me. Every morning I get up, I think to myself, is he proud of me? Because he's the one who wanted me to stay engaged, made me promise me, Dad, you'll stay engaged. Didn't mean I had to run for president, but I would not walk. He was worried I'd walk away from what I've worked on my whole life since I've been 24 years old. He is part of me, and so is my surviving son, Hunter, and Ashley.
And it's very interesting because you hear the difference between like the ad that Yang had, which is, I have not spent my entire lifetime, working in Washington. And then you hear him, he's like, I've been working at this thing since 24 years old. You're like, how old are you again? Like 50 years you've been doing this? 50 years? But he talked about Beau, which I thought was kind of interesting. Again, humanizing is so real. When you can humanize yourself to people, it makes people, it draws them in. It makes them think of you other than a politician, right? That's why they tell stories when they're on stage, right? Because they want to try to humanize. And too often they don't have a story to tell about themselves. And the stories they tell about themselves, you've heard them 1,000 times. Humanizing. And this is what people can understand. His son Beau died. Right? And of course, we know about Hunter and what's going on there. But it makes him very human. His wife and daughter died when he was younger. They were killed in a car crash. He suffered.
And Joe, you'd be amazed at the number of people come up to me in a rope line. I mean, hundreds of people over time. And they'll throw their arms around me, men and women, and saying, I just lost my son. I just lost my daughter. I lost my wife. And all they want to know is that that you can make it. And the way you make it is you find purpose and you realize they're inside you. They're part of you. It's impossible to separate it.
Yeah. Again, makes him human, which people can relate with, right? Doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on. We've all suffered loss in some way, shape, or form. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at me. You can text the program as well. Coronavirus still going and doing its corona thing. It's getting bigger, right? Is this going to be the new Ebola?
Drastic measures to halt the spread of that deadly virus. Wuhan, China, ground zero for the outbreak, now under lockdown. Patients in isolation units being treated by doctors in biohazard suits. Pharmacies struggling to keep masks on the shelves. The city of 11 million now halting all public transportation and outbound flights.
Yeah, so no public transportation, no outbound. They're canceling the festivities for Chinese New Year, and everybody has to wear a mask. Man, imagine if you had stock in a mask company. You'd be killing it right now. What are you doing? I'm killing it, man. Oh, remember when you guys made fun of me about that thing where I was going to buy a mask company? You guys are, you're stupid. Well, now, how you like me now? I just watching the television, right? Because remember, it bleeds, it leads, right? Negative news will get more response than positive news. Why? Because maybe inherently we're not optimistic, we're pessimistic. I'm very optimistic, right? A little bit like Tigger, bouncing around, smile on my face. I like to look at the good. We always hear about how, like, today's the day they're going to roll out the clock, Doomsday clock. 17 minutes it was right after the Cold War. Now it's almost time for the world to come to an end, says these scientists. And you're like, why? Call global warming and because of nuclear proliferation, and all of a sudden, not coming to an end. Best time in human history. Say it with me again. Best time in human history. Best time in human history. But negativity is it's what people use. It's what people use to get people to pay attention to them. Right? Doesn't matter whether or not it's you've had the greatest news in the world, and you post it somewhere, whether you have 12 followers or 1 million followers, you're going to get people that are negative about it, who say nothing but negative things, because they're getting revenge at everybody who's pissed them off in the world. They're getting revenge at everybody. Negativity sells, and it's so much easier. That's why you look at politics in today's world. We're no longer trying to beat ideas with other better ideas. We're now trying to say, you suck more than I suck. What do you think of that? You're like, what? No, you suck more than I suck. So you should vote for me. That's it. I mean, look at what we're doing here with impeachment. They're trying to embarrass each other, trying to shame each other. They're doing so many different things. And I think that's one of the reasons people are disillusioned by so much of this stuff. When we have a very historic thing going on, but because we're so bitter, we're so bipartisan, we're so tribal, it's tough to pay attention with any real want to learn anything. And it's also very dry. Let's not pretend that it's anything other than that. Here's the thing about, like, the Clinton impeachment was salacious, right? There was sex, and there was, oh man, I did not have sex with that woman. You have all this stuff, no relations whatsoever. Maybe, I don't know, it wasn't me, but maybe it's a guy. You know what I'm talking about. Like, there was salaciousness, and it was easy. He lied under oath, all of the abuse of power as far as, what he was, president of the United States, intern, all of this. That's easy. This has, like, shady characters, people's names you can't pronounce. They're in a faraway land, and it became more just like in 20-some years ago. My goodness me. When they impeached him, you go back and you look, and it became all about the people asking the questions and the grandstanding, and you could start to see it then. And now that's kind of what it is, right? And because we're so negative and we're so bipartisan, now we've just totally made up our minds, and we're not going to learn anything new that we already didn't know or didn't think we knew, right? Like, we all kind of think, well, I already knew that, right? He come out and said he did this. He come out and said he did that. I mean, he's kind of taking ownership of it. But does it rise to the level? That's a fair question. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. Here is something very sad. I want you guys to understand it's a sad, sad day for a lot of people when he dies.
I just died in your arms tonight. Oh, look out! Abandon Matt! We're too heavy. Matt, let go. No, you let go. Hey, Mr. Peanut, no, you don't. Don't do it, Mr. Peanut. No! Maybe he'll be all right. Maybe not.
Yeah. They killed Mr. Peanut. We were trying to figure out, was it privileged Peanut, right? Because he's the monocle, the top hat. Obviously, he was doing okay. Was it because he was too old? Anthony threw out there that maybe Mr. Peanut, because of the allergies, was offensive to somebody? Or was this just some sort of storyline that they're going to tell and reintroduce a new, more modern Peanut? Ooh. Right? Maybe one that is inclusive, right? Not that color. Maybe identifies as a, as a different legume. I don't know. It's just so weird. They were also talking about who are some other famous spokes things that need to die. Ronald McDonald was up there. The Trix rabbit, right? That was one of them. I was like, really? The Trix? Did they still have the Trix rabbit? Nobody's killing Tony the Tiger. Nobody's killing, because he's great, and he's a tiger. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. Wounded Paw Project, amazing organization. We've got this horrific incident out here in Phoenix, and it's just horrible, about this mother who killed her 3 kids, all under the age of 4. It's just an awful story. But Wounded Paw Project, you see the work that they do with not just veterans, but also with first responders and their family. And it was so bad that they sent the first responders homes, the fire people and the paramedics, and to go get help. like right after the incident because of what they saw. That's where animals like this come in to help, to comfort, to give them something. It's amazing because we forget our first responders, the things they see day in and day out, right? They're the first to respond to things when it's at its worst. And what they live with is, we can't describe it. Wounded Paw is amazing. Their mission is simple: connect our furry best friends with our nation's heroes. Their motto, save a paw is to save a life. Now is your chance to get on board and to help. They're looking for your extra car, truck, RV. You can actually turn that into a vehicle for change. You're going to be saving a paw to save a life. It's simple and easy to donate. You can also donate cash. Go to woundedpawproject.org. That's woundedpawproject.org, or call 678-4PAW, right? That's 844-678-4729. Find out how you can give. Take a look at the work they're doing. It is incredible. woundedpawproject.org. Chad Benson Show.
No need to fear. We promise we won't give you a noogie and make you cry Russia, Russia, Russia.
Pui to fearless leader.
Pui.
Pui, pui, and double pui.
What is your language? This is a family show, remember?
Pui to families too.
Nostrovia. This is Chad Benson.
Netflix is still growing. The media streaming site that changed the way we watch and binge shows, reporting it added nearly 9 million subscribers to its streaming service in the fourth quarter of 2019. That was above and beyond projections. But competitors are also knocking at the door, with Apple TV Plus along with Disney Plus, which is owned by ABC News parent company Disney, coming on scene. Netflix says subscriptions for the U.S. and Canada were down. Still, Netflix is boasting it has 167 million subscribers worldwide.
Yeah, still massive. Here's the one thing about somebody like Netflix and a lot of things. You have first mover advantage. First mover advantage is huge. It's if you're there and you have a decent product, beating other people to market with it, it's massive. It is absolutely massive. And first mover advantage in something like Netflix is still going to make them the player that they're always, everybody's always going to be playing catch up to them. They're always going to be chasing and trying to get to Netflix. Now, and the other groups, you got to think about this too. Netflix has a wide range. And one of the other things that it was so smart was they realized early on, we can't sustain this business model and continue to be around and relevant. We need to have our own original content. And they started doing that. Now they're going to scale back a lot of the scripted. They're going to do a lot more documentaries and a lot of other things, but they're still pouring tons of money in it. And I mean, to me, Netflix will always be the one thing you have, and then you'll have other things, right? You'll have the Disney, a little bit more specialized, or you'll have, whichever platform, Peacock, or that's the new one, right? I think that's what they're calling it. And so, but Netflix, with their first mover advantage, they're always going to be in that situation. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. You can text the program as well. I like hearing from you. Continuing to battle it out, and that's what they're going to be doing throughout the days and the coming weeks, potentially, in impeachment. And it's just about, getting the things that you think you can get from your side, for your side, and hopefully stopping the other side from introducing certain things and going from there. But is it going to change anybody's mind? I don't know.
I think I would separate it out into sort of two buckets on the two articles of impeachment. You've got number one, which is the abuse of power, which is much more fact-based, really arguing again and again about what the president did. And how corrupt the Democrats believe that it is. And then there's number two, which is the obstruction of Congress charge, which is more legalistic. But it's really important here because it goes to the calling of witnesses.
Yeah, and that's what they really want, right? Their goal is to bring John Bolton up. That's what they want. Bring John Bolton up, and hopefully he's going to lay something out there that it's going to be a bombshell moment. Trump actually talked about Bolton.
I don't know if we left on the best of terms. I would say probably not, and so you don't like people testifying when They didn't leave on good terms.
Translation, right? You know, if your now girlfriend or boyfriend talks to your ex, they may not give you the best reference. He's awful. He's horrible. She's the worst. She's this. He's that. Jilted lover. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at us. It's a great, this North Carolina, this like animal shelter has this cat for adoption. And it's just like, it's the world's worst cat. It'll stare into your soul. It doesn't want to be touched. It hates other animals. It hates kids. That's how they're trying to adopt it, right? It's not going to like you. And I'm like, that's like as honest as it can get. And I'm like, its favorite shows are Pet Sematary, and there was something else evil, like The Exorcist. And I'm like, sounds like my kind of cat. Sounds like a cat. 323-538-2423. Check out the Instagram at Chad Benson Show for Twitter as well. It is the Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Some cities in China are going on lockdown. In Wuhan, they have enacted a travel ban after this virus sickened more than 600 people and killed nearly 20. Anybody that got out of Wuhan before that ban went into effect will be funneled through one of 5 U.S. airports that are performing mandatory screenings. Doctors I spoke with expect to see more cases of the coronavirus here in the United States.
And here's the thing. 600, 1,000. Again, it's China. We don't really know. But like that's the virus. It's part of that, like, ooh, that's kind of exciting. What's that? We were talking earlier. It's like if you get a disease and survive, like a virus of some sort, right? Like or something. Like, what's the one thing that you'd want to go, I got that and I survived? Like the party starter, like the Ebola virus. It's like, oh, dude, look, it's Chad. You know, he got the Ebola virus. What? I know, right? Yeah. Hey, check out his chitter. You can go over his Twitter. It's Chad survived Ebola. Follow me. I don't think too many people are going to die from this. But there's that fear, right? Because it's a virus. Can it mutate? There's different strains of it. Remember you had MERS, and then you had SARS. SARS was going to kill everybody. You had swine flu, right? You had the bird flu. You got a lot of stuff. There's a lot of flus and things flying around. Here's who the people who are susceptible to it. Average age of somebody who's died so far, right around 73, 74. Most people who get this, right, and there's different forms of it, but rare, but potentially lethal, kind of like MERS and SARS, kind of like their cousin. Very rarely does anybody die from it. They're worried about the mutation of this. They think it comes from animals now. It's been passed from animals to humans, and now humans can pass it amongst each other. But and the reality is it's most of the people, you either have a compromised immune system, you're very old, or you're very, very young. That's kind of where it is. Right? But it does show you how fast this thing can spread. If you think about it. You get on a plane in Wuhan, right? You fly maybe to who knows where, Australia. You fly here to the States. You feel fine. Once you're fine, and then you're flying, everything seems to be okay. I don't know what they're doing as screening-wise at the airport. I'm trying to figure that out. I mean, do you have doctors there? I mean, how's that work? You know, that's kind of an interesting, like, are they staring at you going, but they're looking for certain things. And then, you get out there. And what if you what if you're a carrier and you don't really show any symptoms, or you don't show symptoms for days and you've come in contact with a lot of people? The guy up in Washington, it's one of the things they're looking at, like 16 plus people that he's come in contact with and monitoring them to see if they have any symptoms. And again, a lot of these symptoms because they mask other things. We thought we had somebody here in Arizona that had it and found out they had the flu. So but it's just to talk about it. Why? Because it's apocalyptic, right? It's apocalyptic. Got to overstate it. This is it. This is the thing that's going to kill the world. If it's not the nuclear, it's climate change. It's not climate change. Volcanoes, they're coming, right? Just popping up everywhere. Earthquakes. Now it's the virus. It's always something. Best time in human history is now. Safer than we've ever been. Living longer than we've ever lived. We've eradicated most everything that it was. I mean, there's still things out there. Think about how great it is we have it here. There are people around the globe who die from measles, right? Malaria. All this. Think about how amazing we have it here. So, safest time. And wars are down to a minimum compared to what they used to be. There's always going to be conflict because human beings are involved, right? Extreme poverty is down to less than 10%. I mean, it's good. But you need something to talk about. So come on, oh my God. No. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. You can text the program as well. There's that impeachment thing going on and on and on. And it's going on. It's still going. It's still going. It's still going on. It's going on and it's going on. I wonder what will happen.
This seems to be a time for Adam Schiff and the House managers to lecture the American people and to attack the president. But, there's an old saying that if you have the fact, you bang the facts. If you have the law, you bang the law. If you don't have either, you bang the table. Well, we've seen a whole lot of table banging. And at the end of the day, we're in the same spot we were in when we began the day, which is the House articles of impeachment that were passed on a partisan basis. They don't meet the constitutional standard. And that's why the end of this process is going to be an acquittal.
Yeah, it's going to be. Well, Ted, you shouldn't be talking about that. Why are you talking about that? You haven't even gotten to everything. They're still making their cases. They're going to be doing that and then we have the question and answer time. Then we'll decide if we're going to even have new witnesses. Here's the thing. How many people are paying attention? How about how many people there are paying attention? People inside, they're having withdrawals because they don't have their phones and their electronics, right? How much are they really paying attention through a lot of this stuff?
And those video clips were being played, specifically the ones of the president and Rudy Giuliani. You could see the senators pike up their interest. Pay attention. All eyes looking up. Otherwise, many times throughout the day, they're sitting there taking notes, deliberately paying attention. Some, perhaps a few rule breakers in there doing other activities throughout the day, playing a crossword puzzle, for example.
Yeah, well, some of them got up and left. You're not supposed to. They started like, I gotta stretch my legs, gotta do stuff. You're in there for a long time. They have their lunch breaks, their dinner breaks, and all of that stuff. They'll have snack time. They'll go out for a recess. Maybe they run around, just kind of do stuff. And, there's other. But at the end of the day, they're not learning anything new. Most of them have already made up their mind. They're taking their marching orders from their base. If their base wants Trump gone, they're going to vote that way. They're not nobody's looking at the facts anymore, right? The facts are irrelevant in this. It's the base. And the bases see Trump as inherently evil or a godsend. And they see the other side as telling nothing but lies or half-truths. So they're not, the only evidence they need to know about is the evidence of the polls that they see and how much they can trust those polls. Because if the polls in their area say that you need to get rid of this guy, I have no doubt in my mind the Republicans would do it in a heartbeat. If they thought they would lose their jobs by acquitting him and not removing him from office. And on the other side, I have no doubt in my mind that if 15 or 20 Democrats thought that they were going to lose their job if they voted to remove him from office, they would acquit. The only evidence that matters to these people is the evidence that their bases bring them. And the evidence right now is, hey, guys, get rid of him or keep him. Because we'll get rid of you or keep you, deciding on how you vote. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. Michelle Carter's been released from jail. You don't know who she is. She was the young lady at the time who was convicted of involuntary manslaughter for persuading her then boyfriend to kill himself. And she's getting out months ahead of schedule for good behavior. She was serving a 15-month sentence. Been in there since February. She earned enough time off her sentence for good behavior. They said she's a model inmate at the Bristol County House of Corrections. It's good to know, right? Carter release ends the crazy saga that was Conrad Roy III. He was 18. He killed himself in July of 2014. And then when they were doing investigations, find out what happened. They saw her text messages between the two where she was urging him and encouraging him to go through with the suicide, even after he had expressed hesitation. And, of course, SCOTUS decided not to hear it. But they're going to release her because she's a good inmate. You're a good inmate, so you get to go. I don't think she's a threat to society. I don't know if you text with her. If you give her one of those things where you can't have a cell phone ever again. Or you can have a cell phone, but it's got to be the stupid phone. You can have a smartphone. I wonder if they're going to make her do something like that. Where you have to type in, remember, like A is, BC, and you get 1 is 1, and so you got to type, to get to C, you get a 1, 2. Maybe. I don't know. She's going to get a date, though, right? She is. Some guys like there, well, I'm not that bad. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at us. Raycons, amazing. I love mine. Always out working out, always out doing something. Got my Raycon earbuds in. Ray J's put these things together. They're absolutely incredible. E25, seamless Bluetooth pairing, 6 hours of playtime, more bass, right? More compact design, nice noise isolating fit. Why that matters is because when you're talking to somebody, you want to know you're hearing them, they're hearing you, and it's great. And the other thing is when you're doing your stuff, right? You're running around and it's comfortable, and you want to listen to your music in peace and quiet, whatever it is you're doing, you got it going on. It is absolutely incredible. There's no other earbuds out there like them. A quarter to half the price of all of those other spendy super name brands you'd buy. There's no dangling wires. There are no stems. They're incredible. When he put it together, he said, okay, this is what I'm doing. I'm taking all the people I know in the music industry that I work with, right? Athletes. I want them to try it, right? So he takes some NBA players. So he gets Snoop Dogg, Cardi B. He said, check these things out, guys. And they're like, these things are amazing. Yeah, they really, really are. You'll be obsessed with them like many of them are. Get yours now and save big. 15% off. Go to buyraycon.com/Chad. It's buyraycon.com/Chad. Buyraycon.com/Chad. Chad Benson Show.
Take a fake news break. Check out the really important news of the day at our website, ChadBensonShow.com. Once there, click on Chad's free podcast and get real. The Chad Benson Show, where truth and the American way live. Print free.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. Liftoff.
Now it's time to find out what's trending. What's trending? Yeah, what does that mean? I mean something, right? Like it's trending on the old internet. What's trending? All right. Start with Google. Gritty is trending. You don't know who Gritty is? Gritty is the mascot of the Philadelphia Flyers. Apparently, he has been accused of punching a boy. The fans have come to the defense of Gritty. Would he do that? It's Philadelphia. They booed Santa Claus and threw snowballs at him, right? And they booed Mike Schmidt, arguably the greatest third baseman in the history of baseball. So, yeah. They cheered Michael Irvin breaking his neck. So, yes, I think that is a possibility. It is not the city of brotherly love the way we think it is. Juice WRLD. Here's a shocker. The rapper died. Are you guys ready for this? Accidental overdose of codeine and Oxycontin. He was on a flight from Los Angeles to Chicago, arrested for possession of firearms. They knew, because they were alerted by the pilot, I guess, that there was some stuff on board, guns and whatnot, and the pilot alerted them. They freaked out. Apparently, there's some stuff that happened, but not a shocker there. This is my not-so-shocked face. We move over to the magical world of Twitter. President Pence is trending. Michelle Carter's trending. Of course, she's getting out of jail. She got out of jail for her 15-month sentence. She time off for good behavior. She, of course, of the Conrad Roy text messaging urging him to kill himself. The Doomsday Clock is trending. Oh, no way. Yeah, the Doomsday Clock. They moved it. It's now 100 seconds to midnight. They moved it 100 seconds to midnight. 100 seconds to... It's almost over, kids. This is it. Nothing left for us to do. It's over. It's done. Right? All those things you've ever wanted to do, now's your time to check it off because the scientists have spoken. They said with risk of climate change and nuclear warfare that this is the end. 17 minutes was the furthest it was away. And that was like 91 after the fall of the wall and the Soviets. And Steve Mnuchin, he's the latest to take a swipe, they said, at Greta Thunberg. Because she's, of course, in Davos. She gets to give her the speeches, 17-year-old, talking about climate change and the whole nine yards. And she went after, the capitalist society and all that stuff. And somebody asked Mnuchin, and he said, is she the chief economist? Who is she? I'm confused. Tell her to go to school, get an economics degree, and then we can talk economy and economics. And, of course, you're a bad person for saying that. Why not? You don't want the 17-year-old to give you advice? You don't want that? You don't want the 17-year-old to get advice on all things? No. I like the fact that she's brought this to the front, but I feel like she's completely being used, and I'll continue to say that. Right? I continue to say that. She is being absolutely used by many people. And I think she's doing it for all the right reasons. And I've always said the whole thing with climate change, if you get down to it, it's not hard to see. It's about control. It's about ceding control. It's about punishing more successful nations. We've got to do a lot better with our climate. Absolutely. But I feel like she's totally being used. But yeah, if you want to take economic advice from her, jump on it. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. Birth tourism, touch on that. Hillary and Tulsi getting into it, lawsuit style. And the Grammys, speaking of politics, Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
The U.S. will soon impose new restrictions to reduce birth tourism when women travel to the U.S. to give birth so their children will be American citizens. The legal changes will make it harder for pregnant women traveling on tourist visas, requiring them now to provide a legitimate reason for their trip to a consular office. The State Department is expected to publicize the rules this week.
I'm totally fine with that. We don't need any amendments to the Constitution, right? We don't need any of that stuff. But there are groups of people that are wealthy globally, and that passport is the ultimate prize. The ultimate prize. So people in China, in Russia, and other places where you never know what may happen, the ultimate prize is an American passport. And if they have the means, they'll come. And they'll plan a whole trip, be here for 2-3 months, right? Give birth to a child in a hospital, but most likely inside of a controlled environment in a hotel or certain luxury areas. It'll be treated, like it's a spa day at times. And they'll get that all-important American passport. We're not talking about the people that cross the border who are running and fleeing awful, horrible things. We're talking about that. Right? Well, that happens far more frequent than these. This is something wholly different. And I got zero problems with that. I was telling them off air, I had a friend. God bless her. Love her. Still my friend. We've been friends for, goodness me, going on 30 years. And Nicola lives in England. And her parents worked for British Airways for years. And when we were over there, and she was pregnant at the time with her son Lloyd, she was always trying to time it so Lloyd would, when she was pregnant, maybe he would be born over here. Now, he wasn't, but we would joke about it all the time because they would go to Florida and do stuff. And, she would always travel. And I was just, look, I'm not a fan of that, right? Now, if you come here and you're here for 6 months and you didn't know we know what's real and what's not. Birth tourism, you're coming here for a specific reason. Right? That's what you're coming here for. You're pregnant. Your whole goal is not even to stay in the United States, by the way. None of this is about staying in the United States. It's about getting that passport for that child. So one day, if that child wants to come back here, or you want to escape the issue you're in and you want to take the money and everything you've got, because again, it's not cheap. Birth tourism is not running for your lives, fleeing the drug cartels and getting here. It's about having that ultimate prize where eventually one day you can come settle in the States. So I got no problems with that. Zero with the birth tourism. Because there's a reason they're doing it. Right? 99% of the time they'll come here. They'll have some stay, but more often than not, they come, they turn around and they go home after the child is an American citizen and they know it. They'll turn around and they go home. So, yeah, I understand that. Zero problems with it. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. You can text the program as well. I'm telling you guys, for all of the stuff that you hear about our crazy impeachment and politics and stuff, let me tell you about the real crazy political insanity of the Grammys and what's going on. So the Grammys are this weekend. They got a new president, CEO, Deborah Dugan. She's only been there since, I think June or July. They talked about this old boys network and this, it's all of this stuff. Next thing you know, she's ousted and out come the claws and hammers and everything. They're fighting.
So are you saying that when we're all watching the Grammys this Sunday, we should be thinking the fix is in, this is rigged?
I'm saying that the system should be transparent and that there are incidents of conflict of interest that taints the result. I couldn't say more positive things about all of the nominations and everybody that performs. And oh my God, I hate that I'm in this situation because I'd much rather be here talking about the artists and the music. But I can't help but have to say there are conflicts of interest that go on.
Yeah, conflicts of interest. And these are some crazy things about conflicts of interest. Because you know what? At the end of the day, we're still human beings, and getting awards is nice. But there's the systems. It's a system, man. And that's what it is. Like every office in the country, whether there's 3 people in the office or 1,000 people, there's politics always being played. Right? It's always being played. But this is kind of one of those things where being in the know helps you.
Right in the 2019 Song of the Year process, quote, one artist who initially ranked 18th out of 20 in the 2019 Song of the Year category ended up with a nomination. That artist was actually permitted to sit on the Song of the Year nomination committee. Incredibly, this artist is also represented by a member of the board. Who is this person?
Yes.
We're not going to out that
I
person.
don't, for the artist's privacy and for the integrity of all those artists that are going to perform, I don't want to say, but it's not even just that one room. I have evidence that in another room, because there were complaints made in the jazz category.
Yeah. So think about that. And this is that wackiness of you've got people sitting on a board. One of them happens to be a manager, an agent. He gets the songwriter and the artist and stuff on the board, and they're voting on what should be the song of the year. So this is why, like, you know, and this is that thing where, like, people like transparency. Right? And we don't get much transparency. Look at, you know, whether it's medical billing or politics, we like it. Even college football. Everybody, where's the transparency in college football? Want to know why did you vote this way? Who did this? Major League Baseball just voted in 2 Hall of Famers. One person didn't vote for. One person said, no, Derek Jeter, you are not a Hall of Famer. You're probably the best shortstop in the last 50 years and maybe the best leader in modern times in sports, but you're not a Hall of Famer. Well, why? Because they're human beings. Politics everywhere.
So you do have evidence. That was going to be my follow-up question.
I do.
And where are you going to present that?
I have a claim that I filed.
And this is, of course, the year that Ed Sheeran and Ariana Grande did not get nominated. Yes. This is pretty serious.
Yeah. It's very serious. And I wouldn't be here if I didn't think I could make a difference.
And we don't want to be here, George. I mean, like, we're forced to be here. I mean, she was the one that was placed on leave.
Yeah. Yeah. And she was brought in because there was a sense of a very old boys network doing their own thing, right? Running around. And she was brought in to fix it.
I actually wanted to make change from within. I moved across the country. I had a great job. I believe in what the Recording Academy should stand for artists. And I was trying at each step to take a deep breath and say, okay, I can make a difference. I can fix this.
Yeah. No, you can't. She didn't hold that job that long. They didn't like. She was the first woman to run it. And she wasn't there for more than 6 months. And then complaints started to come in. And look, maybe they're real complaints. Maybe they're not. Maybe they're real complaints. Maybe they're not. But at the end of the day, she's ousted. And now we can see behind it. That's that's the whole thing when you like, I'm sure Trump's worried about that, right? Right? That's what he talked about with Bolton. Well, we didn't leave on best of terms. Because it's always that person you piss off. And Trump doesn't care, man. When Trump doesn't just burn, he doesn't just burn the bridge. He bombs the other town, then burns the bridge, then bomb where he's at. So he's got a lot of people out there. His politics is full throttle, nonstop, full contact. Now we get to find out. Now people who are going to be watching this weekend, they followed any of the story, and it's getting a lot more press, are going to be sitting there going, well, how do I know that you really won this thing? That's why Kanye, remember Kanye for years would go up and just take Taylor Swift's, stuff away. Said, no, Beyonce deserves this. So maybe it was right. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. You can text the program as well. So Tulsi Gabbard is suing Hillary Clinton. I think Jill Stein should sue Hillary Clinton too. So she was on a podcast last year talking about Russia and all of that stuff.
I'm not making any predictions,
but I think they've got their eye on somebody who's currently in the Democratic primary and are grooming her to be the third-party candidate. She's the favorite of the Russians. They have a bunch of sites and bots and other ways of supporting her so far. And that's assuming Jill Stein will give it up, which she might not, because she's also a Russian asset.
Yeah, like she's also a Russian asset? Yeah. So, that's interesting. So she's suing for $50 million. If I'm Jill Stein, I'm all over that. And they asked, one of her campaign people about this, and they said something to the effect of, well, if the nesting doll fits, which is, those little dolls, those little wood dolls, and you take the head off of it, the body, and there's another one, and down and down and down. And so she's coming hard.
I will not stand quietly by as Hillary Clinton or anyone else tries to smear my character and my loyalty and dedication to serving our country. And I've filed a lawsuit against her for that defamation to hold her accountable.
She's not going to win. I think Jill Stein has a chance, right, to come after her. But still, the over-under on her, Tulsi Gabbard, accidentally, something happens to Tulsi. She slipped in the shower. She was working out and the barbell fell on her head when nobody was around. She tripped while doing CrossFit. Fell into a volcano. It was a tragedy. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You tweet at. It's tough when you're a public figure like they are. They sling arrows all the time. So I doubt you're going to get anything out of it. But the fact that you've gone and done this, right? That is interesting. Taking her on. What will Hillary do? She's probably picking up the phone and go, hey, remember that thing you did for Epstein? How'd you do that again? It's election year, kids. Politicians are running. They're fighting over impeachment. They're fighting over all kinds of stuff. What are they doing to handle the things that we care about? That's why I work with an organization like AMAC, Association of Mature American Citizens, fastest growing over 50 organization in the country. They're out there fighting for you on things like Social Security and Medicare to make sure they're solvent and still around, right? Common sense immigration reform. That's what they want. And they're doing a hell of a job at it. On top of that, they give you opportunities to have some of the absolute most incredible benefits, like retail, restaurant, hotel benefits that are just amazing, like going to amusement parks and getting huge discounts, going to the movies and get like 50% off. How expensive the movies are? Plus, they'll answer your questions. Let's say you got a question about Social Security or Medicare. They're there for you to help. Right now, you can join for free. It is 1 year. It is on me. You go to amac.us/Chad or call 888-355-1617. That's 888-355-1617. It is 1 year. It is free. It is on me. amac.us/Chad. Chad Benson Show.
If you're part of the politically exhausted majority, don't fear. Your time to be validated and rejuvenated is here. Wake up. It's the Chad Benson Show.
The United Nations stunning allegation accusing the Saudi kingdom of hacking one of the richest men in the world, Amazon founder Jeff Bezos. The suspicion that Bezos was targeted because he's the owner of the Washington Post. The UN report, which included analysis of data collected by a firm hired by Bezos, as well as other evidence, concluded the hack happened back in May of 2018 in an effort to influence and possibly silence the Washington Post's critical coverage of Saudi Arabia.
They were looking for naked pictures of him. Right? So they were sending Bezos pictures of supposedly his girl, right? And people are like, why would they do that? I'm like, well, he owns the Washington Post. Khashoggi worked for the Washington Post. They were extremely critical of the Saudis because Khashoggi worked there, and he was very critical of them. Then, of course, when he was murdered, let's be real, he was murdered by Saudi Arabians, ordered by the royal family, Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Not really. We'll get to the bottom of it. Don't worry. We'll cane some people and cut some people's heads off, and heads will literally roll. But you can't go all the way back to, MBS. No, it's not him. But it's, yeah. So they were looking for dirt and stuff, and they hacked into him on a WhatsApp. And got in there, and they sent him pictures and sent him other pictures, and this was 2 months after. So they were coming hard. What's it mean? Nothing. That's exactly what it means. Nothing. What are they going to do to the Saudis? What are they going to do? The UN has no power. They have zero power to do anything. We strongly condemn. You better watch out, or we're going to send people with blue helmets over there to watch people get slaughtered so they can report back to us. And they are the most corrupt organization on the planet. It's not the Grammys, right? It's not our politics or the British politics or the EU, right? It's the IOC, the Olympics. It is the FIFA and the UN. But the UN is like beyond corruption. Beyond corruption. They are a waste of space. Well, we're going to do an investigation. Okay, we're going to wait for it, and we'll see what you guys come up against. Please.
They must be afraid of something. And that's the thing that I find most disturbing about it, is they don't want to hear the evidence because they know the truth. They know he's guilty, and they don't want to hear the evidence because they don't want the American people to see it too.
George Conway. You know, it'd be great if it was Conway Twitty, but it wasn't. It's George Conway. Of course, the husband of Kellyanne Conway. He's been on CNN talking about all of this impeachment stuff. It's not moving the needle. I'll say it again, and I'll continue to say it. 11 million people have watched the impeachment so far. This is the first day of ratings, and that's across all the stuff. Now, some people may stream and things like that. Those registers don't number. They don't really register. That's about 3% of the population. NCIS, Monday night, 11.3 million people. And that doesn't count DVRs or any other stuff, right? NFC Championship game, Sunday night, 46 million people. 11.3 million over all these networks, and these are just one network. Soak it up. People aren't paying attention because they know the outcome, and they feel both sides are as dirty as the other side. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. You text the program. Feel free to do that. Check out the Instagram as well. And, of course, the Chad Benson Show Facebook page. We do videos and stuff up there all the time. It is the Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
When you watch this, it's boring. We all know it's boring. And that's the real reason why they're impeaching Trump. These are all really, really boring people up against a phenomenally interesting person they see as a threat. This is a fat, bloated cat trying to hack out an orange fur ball that has made their life a living hell. That's why you got to root for Trump. It's also important. He's Rocky in this fight.
Greg Gutfeld. It is boring, right? Like eyes is just, they're glossing over. Not even the senators aren't paying attention. They've caught them leaving, which they're not supposed to be doing, right? They're jonesing. They're like an addict for their, oh God, I don't have electronics. Oh! And they're playing crossword puzzles. Yeah, he's way more exciting than they are. I mean, they're trying, they're trying. Like, they're trying to add a little something. I mean, listen here to Chuck Schumer last night. Just trying to deliver his best. Like, I'm going to give this speech. Just feel this.
Adam Schiff's speech was one of the most compelling I have heard It was a tour de force.
Tour de force.
And I think that a good number of my Republican colleagues, for the first time, heard the entire arguments powerfully, succinctly, and completely.
Tour de force. I'd rather watch the Tour de France than this. People ask me, why don't you? I can't go wall to wall with it. It's just dull. We're not learning anything new. No matter how many times you say it, Adam Schiff or Jay Sekulow, we've heard it all. You either believe him or you don't. You either want him out or you love him, right? None of that stuff's changing. And you're trying to convince people who already think, I can't believe a word you're saying, that you should believe this. We likened it, and have been, to going to a country that you don't speak the language, and you're trying to ask them a question, and you continue to say the same thing over and over. You just have a different inflection. Sometimes you slow down and use hand gestures. Other times you yell. You over-enunciate. They're still not understanding you. And at this point in time, they don't care. How don't they care? 11.1 million viewers. 11.1. That's it. Something historic. 3%. 3%. Day one, 11.1 million viewers. NCIS beat it. Right? NCIS. Now, the networks that carried it. Walt Disney. Hi, everybody. Which is also ABC. Viacom, Comcast. These are, of course, CBS, NBC, MSNBC, AT&T Inc., which is CNN, and Fox Corp. 11.1. 11.1. 3% of America is paying attention. 3. So you can be overdramatic all you want, Lindsey Graham.
If I were the president, I wouldn't cooperate with these guys at all. I'm the same guy that said you can't fire Mueller. I encouraged him to work with Mueller. Mueller is a man of the law. Schiff, Nadler, and Pelosi impeached this president in 48 days. I wouldn't give them the time of day. They're on a crusade to destroy this man, and they don't care what they destroy in the process of trying to destroy Donald Trump.
What do you think of that? What do you think of that? The great. So you guys are good. Super. I'm so excited for all of you. It's the same old going on now throughout the evening into tomorrow. Same old, same old. If we get witnesses. For some people, that may be interesting. Right? Like, maybe I'd like to see that, right? That may be an interesting thing. Maybe something being introduced that we already don't know. Because we pretty much know everything. Trump joked about, we have all the documents. They don't. But is that going to change anybody's mind? Trump's already admitted, yeah, that's what I did. And? Well, you shouldn't have done that. But I did it. And? He's not going anywhere unless there's something just so earth-shattering, right? Is it Bolton? He talked about that.
I don't know if we left on the best of terms. I would say probably not, and so you don't like people testifying when they didn't leave on good terms.
No. At the end of the day, though, I don't think anything is going to change. I think we're going to be in the exact same place we were 2 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago, 8 weeks ago. They'll be battling it out. He's going to come through the other side, and there's more than a good chance that he is going to be acquitted. He's going to come through pretty much unscathed. It'll be a very partisan vote. You may get one or two on each side that flip, maybe more Democrats than Republicans, but there's still going to be a race, a 2020 race. That's coming. So how do you handle that? Because you're taking now, the longer this goes, we're 11 days away from Iowa. Bernie's not on the campaign trail. Warren is not on the campaign trail. Klobuchar is not on the campaign trail. They're not in Iowa. Biden is going out, and Buttigieg is going out, and Andrew Yang is out there. He's making noise, at least trying to. But Biden is the one that has a huge advantage right here. The longer this goes, the more that it hurts the likes of Sanders, particularly Sanders. All right, I think Warren is faded enough, but particularly Sanders. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. You can text the program as well. Michelle Carter's getting out of jail. She's out of jail. She was the girl that was convicted of involuntary manslaughter for taunting and pushing her boyfriend, Conrad Roy III, into committing suicide. After he committed suicide, they looked at his text messages and saw things that were, well, for all intents and purposes, her urging him to do it, urging him to kill himself. And he eventually did. And she was tried and convicted. She had a 15-month sentence. And, she's getting out.
Michelle Carter urged Conrad Roy to just do it, babe, before he rigged a truck to fill with carbon monoxide. Later, on the phone, Carter ordered Roy to follow through with his suicide. She challenged her conviction, but the U.S. Supreme Court declined to take the case. Carter was released 3 months early from the jail in Bristol County, Massachusetts, where Thomas Hodgson is sheriff.
She was a model inmate for the entire time that she was here.
Her parents picked her up. Carter appeared in the same gray blazer and black pants she wore the day she was found guilty.
Yeah. So, and the sheriff talked about, what's next for her? What are the chances something can happen?
We can't undo what's already done, but we can do everything we can while people are in our custody to try to make sure it never happens to anyone else.
Yeah. I don't know what it looks like outside for her. You know what I mean? But, are they going to stop her from getting a smartphone? You're only allowed, because a lot of times they'll put restrictions on certain things. I don't think so. I don't think she'll have any. Again, this was a really interesting case because it brought into a situation where, first of all, it was technology being brought in. And as we all know now, technology is huge. And secondly, could you saying something or urging somebody, and we've seen a few of these last year in Boston, a young man killed himself, and they are still trying to, if I'm correct, they're trying to bring his girlfriend of the time over here. I think she's in Korea. But he killed himself on graduation day. And the other thing is, too, it was weird, too, with the Michelle Carter thing because he was going through all kinds of issues. There were also text messages where she tried to help. She tried to get people to help. This was a long time in coming. This just isn't something that happened on a Tuesday, and she urged him Tuesday night, and then he went out and did it Wednesday. He had a lot of issues, but she didn't help. She did. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. You can text the program as well. Everybody still good? Nobody got the coronavirus? Everybody good? I want to make sure we're all good. It's out there. It's lurking around. Bad. It's just everywhere, the coronavirus. So we got to make sure that we're all good. Don't want anybody to get it because it's not a good thing to get. But it's going to be, it's like front in mind for everybody right now. Car Shield. Love Car Shield. People ask me, Chad, does it really work? Yes. I said, here's what you have to do. You have to call Car Shield and say, all right, I've got this, right? This is my car. It's 10 years old. It's got 100,000 miles on it. It's 8 years old. It's got 95,000 miles on it. It's not super modern. You tell them what you have, right? And then Car Shield will give you the absolute best protection plan for your needs, right? Don't just wing it and say, just give me whatever you have. No, don't do that. Do you have a car that's more modern, right? And you've got a ton of electronics. You want to make sure all of those things are covered. It's like anything else. And that's why you call them. But one thing you do is you're going to get 24/7 roadside assistance. You're going to get a rental car for free while your car's in the shop. And don't underestimate that. Your car's in there for 3 or 4 days. You want to be bumming rides and ride share? No. That is huge. And they get them paid directly. And the shop is the shop you choose. So whoever you take it to, get them paid directly. No, you pay a small deductible, and you're not fronting them any other money. It's that simple. Now's your chance. Find out what's best for you, the car that you have. Call them today, 800-CAR-6000. Mention code Benson. That's 800-CAR-6000. Use the code Benson. That'll save you 10%. Or carshield.com, carshield.com. Code Benson saves you 10%. A deductible may apply. Chad Benson Show.
Don't let the Washington Beltway strangle you. This is where the exhausted majority comes to refuel, realign, and reevaluate. This is Chad Benson.
So imagine you go to church. So I go to church every week, right? I try to. Some weeks I travel, so I'll go see Jack, and, God's like, oh, cool, you're going to see your son. No. But imagine if you go to a church, and then your church says, hey, old people, you're going to have to find a new church. What? Yeah. So a struggling church in Minnesota is asking its older parishioners to leave because they want to bring younger families in. It's a tiny church, used to be bigger. They've struggled. And churches, like everything else, they're battling for your interest, right? They say they've got only one family that goes there. They've got a husband and wife who've got 2 kids. Outside of that, there's no other families. So they're going to close the church down in Cottage Grove in June. So it's the Grove United Methodist Church. It's in St. Paul. So they're going to close it down. And the city's growing. It's kind of becoming like one of those, people are flocking there, cheaper. It's just outside of a bigger city. And so they're going to close it down, and they're going to reopen it in November. They're going to spend $250,000. And they brought in a specialist whose goal for them is to build it up from the ground floor, because like everything else, whether you believe or you don't believe, call them a customer if you want, but you need to put people into the church, right? So one of the things we talk about with in my business is you look at the demographics and how do you get younger people to pay attention, right? They've got, and it's the same thing with television, with movies. And, I've always said for years, if I ran a church, my services would be this, 35, 40 minutes in and out at certain times just for a younger audience. Some people may want to go longer. They want some of that. They've tried to hypnotize up the music in a lot of places. And oddly enough, the family that goes there love the old people, and they don't want them to go. And they said, look, if they stop coming, then we're not going to come. And, they're angry. But I understand the need to try to bring younger people in, but it's, like everything else, it's how you deliver the message. The church I go to, Sun Valley, is a great church. And I go to like an offshoot of it where the main campus, we have it piped into our church, in our campus, and it's great, right? It's younger-ish, if you will. But I've gone to churches that, my goodness, were they boring. I went to a church when I was younger. I went to private school, and our church was beyond dull. Like the average age was 1 million. It was just, couldn't stand to go there just because it was so tiring. But like everything else, you're vying for everybody's dollars, audience. Doesn't matter what it is. You're trying to bring people in. You got to figure out, and you got to go to them in a way that you're going to be able to bring them in, right? And if that means appealing to a younger audience by trying to get younger people, it's not just about getting rid of the old people, because old people can be hip. Old people can be cool. Not always, but starts with music. Where are you going to meet these people? How are you getting there? A lot of it, it's the message and the way you deliver it. But I couldn't even imagine that, like going to church. Hey, guys, is there any way anybody over the age of 60 could go somewhere else? because we're looking for younger people. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. You could tweet at us. You could text the program as well. How enthralled are you with impeachment? Are you paying that much attention to it? Is it a must-see TV? Because most of the people I'm hearing from, it's thank God you're watching some of this, Chad, because I'm not watching it. Most people are getting the Cliff Notes version of the Cliff Notes version, and they're consuming it in the way that makes them comfortable. So if they're on the left, they're going to the places that make them happy. If they're on the right, they're going to go to the places that are going to give them the information they want to reaffirm their belief. And people in the middle, if you're there and you are consuming it, then you're probably checking out C-SPAN. But how are you consuming? Are you even paying attention? Again, NCIS crushed it. Ratings-wise. It's the Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
11 days away from Iowa. 11 days from Iowa. If you're Bernie Sanders and Klobuchar and Elizabeth Warren and you're stuck there 12 hours again throughout today, 12 hours again tomorrow, through Saturday, right? You'll have one day to really get out and do anything. This does not help your campaign. It doesn't. And the person who has a chance to get out there and make noise, right, make some hay, is Joe Biden. And that's what he's doing. Buttigieg is the same way. He's out there. Andrew Yang got himself a new ad.
I'm the only one to build a nonprofit that created thousands of jobs. And here's what I don't have: a lifetime stuck in the politics of Washington. To defeat Donald Trump, we need someone with the experience of tackling the economic challenges of our time. I've done that. I'm Andrew Yang, and I approve this message. Together, we'll rewrite the rules of the new economy so they work for us.
Pretty interesting. He's sounding more comfortable, more presidential-ish. Doesn't have a chance. Right? Oh, Chad, you'd never say never. On this one, I'm going to go out there with a never. Right? I'm not. I think he is very interesting, super smart, and like I said, if I was president, he'd be in my cabinet somewhere in my administration, right? With somewhere working on the economy and the new world and where we're going, help shaping education, because again, we need to teach to where we're going, not where we're at. Too often now, I talk to these kids, I see a lot of young kids, they're learning things that they can learn at any time. We're not teaching them where they're going to be going. Eventually, coding is going to be the manufacturing of the future. Right now, it's like a specialty job. We need to teach where the world is going, not where it's at. Joe Biden, on the other hand, is out there doing Joe Biden-y things.
Beau should be the one running for president, not me. Every morning I get up, I think to myself, is he proud of me? Because he's the one who wanted me to stay engaged, made me promise me, Dad, you'll stay engaged. Didn't mean I had to run for president, but I would not walk. He was worried I'd walk away from what I've worked on my whole life since I've been 24 years old. He is part of me, and so is my surviving son, Hunter, and Ashley.
And it's very interesting because you hear the difference between like the ad that Yang had, which is, I have not spent my entire lifetime, working in Washington. And then you hear him, he's like, I've been working at this thing since 24 years old. You're like, how old are you again? Like 50 years you've been doing this? 50 years? But he talked about Beau, which I thought was kind of interesting. Again, humanizing is so real. When you can humanize yourself to people, it makes people, it draws them in. It makes them think of you other than a politician, right? That's why they tell stories when they're on stage, right? Because they want to try to humanize. And too often, they don't have a story to tell about themselves. And the stories they tell about themselves, you've heard them 1,000 times. Humanizing. And this is what people can understand. His son, Beau, died, right? And, of course, we know about Hunter and what's going on there. But it makes him very human. You know, his wife and daughter died when he was younger. They were killed in a car crash. He suffered.
And, Joe, you'd be amazed at the number of people come up to me in a rope line. I mean, hundreds of people over time. And they'll throw their arms around me, men and women, and saying, I just lost my son. I just lost my daughter. I lost my wife. And all they want to know is that that you can make it. And the way you make it is you find purpose and you realize they're inside you. They're part of you. It's impossible to separate it.
Yeah. Again, makes him human, which people can relate with, right? Doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on. We've all suffered loss in some way, shape, or form. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at me. You can text the program as well. Coronavirus still going and doing its corona thing. It's getting bigger, right? Is this going to be the new Ebola?
Drastic measures to halt the spread of that deadly virus. Wuhan, China, ground zero for the outbreak, now under lockdown. Patients in isolation units being treated by doctors in biohazard suits. Pharmacies struggling to keep masks on the shelves. The city of 11 million now halting all public transportation and outbound flights.
Yeah, so no public transportation, no outbound. They're canceling the festivities for Chinese New Year, and everybody has to wear a mask. Man, imagine if you had stock in a mask company. You'd be killing it right now. What are you doing? I'm killing it, man. Oh, remember when you guys made fun of me about that thing where I was going to buy a mask company? You guys are, you're stupid. Well, now, how you like me now? I just watching the television, right? Because remember, it bleeds, it leads, right? Negative news will get more response than positive news. Why? Because maybe inherently we're not optimistic, we're pessimistic. I'm very optimistic, right? A little bit like Tigger, bouncing around, smile on my face. I like to look at the good. We always hear about how, like, today's the day they're going to roll out the clock, you know, Doomsday clock. 17 minutes it was right after the Cold War. Now it's almost time for the world to come to an end, says these scientists. And you're like, why? Call global warming and because of nuclear proliferation, and all of a sudden, you know, not coming to an end. Best time in human history. Say it with me again. Best time in human history. Best time in human history. But negativity is it's what people use. It's what people use to get people to pay attention to them. Right? Doesn't matter whether or not it's you've had the greatest news in the world and you post it somewhere. Whether you have 12 followers or 1 million followers, you're going to get people that are negative about it, who say nothing but negative things, because they're getting revenge at everybody who's pissed them off in the world. They're getting revenge at everybody. Negativity sells, and it's so much easier. That's why you look at politics in today's world. We're no longer trying to beat ideas with other better ideas. We're now trying to say, you suck more than I suck. What do you think of that? You're like, what? No, you suck more than I suck. So you should vote for me. That's it. I mean, look at what we're doing here with impeachment. They're trying to embarrass each other, trying to shame each other. They're doing so many different things. And I think that's one of the reasons people are disillusioned by so much of this stuff, when we have a very historic thing going on. But because we're so bitter, we're so bipartisan, we're so tribal, it's tough to pay attention with any real want to learn anything. And it's also very dry. Let's not pretend that it's anything other than that. Here's the thing about, like, the Clinton impeachment was salacious, right? There was sex and there was, oh man, I did not have sex with that woman. You have all this stuff, no relations whatsoever. Maybe, I don't know, it wasn't me, but maybe this guy, you know what I'm talking about. Like, there was salaciousness and it was easy. He lied under oath, all of the abuse of power as far as, what he was, president of the United States, intern, all of this. That's easy. This has like shady characters, people's names you can't pronounce. They're in a faraway land, and it became more just like in 20 some years ago. My goodness me, when they impeached him, you go back and you look, and it became all about the people asking the questions and the grandstanding, and you could start to see it then. And now that's kind of what it is, right? And because we're so negative and we're so bipartisan, now we've just totally made up our minds, and we're not going to learn anything new that we already didn't know or didn't think we knew, right? Like we all kind of think, well, I already knew that, right? He come out and said he did this. He come out and said he did that. I mean, he's kind of taking ownership of it. But does it rise to the level? That's a fair question. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. Here is something very sad. I want you guys to understand it's a sad, sad day for a lot of people when he dies.
I just died in your arms tonight. Oh, look out! Oh, abandonment! We're too heavy. Matt, let go. No, you let go. Hey, Mr. Peanut, no, you don't. Don't do it, Mr. Peanut. No! Maybe you'll be all right. Maybe not.
Yeah. They killed Mr. Peanut. We were trying to figure out, was it privileged Peanut, right? Because he's the monocle, the top hat. Obviously, he was doing okay. Was it because he was too old? Anthony threw out there that maybe Mr. Peanut, because of the allergies, was offensive to somebody? Or was this just some sort of storyline that they're going to tell and reintroduce a new, more modern Peanut? Ooh. Right? Maybe one that is inclusive, right? Not that color. Maybe identifies as a, as a different legume. I don't know. It's just so weird. They were also talking about who are some other famous spokes things that need to die. Ronald McDonald was up there. The Trix rabbit, right? That was one of them. I was like, really? The Trix? Did they still have the Trix rabbit? Nobody's killing Tony the Tiger. Nobody's killing because he's great, and he's a tiger. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. Wounded Paw Project, amazing organization. We've got this horrific incident out here in Phoenix, and it's just horrible about this mother who killed her 3 kids, all under the age of 4. It's just an awful story. But Wounded Paw Project, you see the work that they do with not just veterans, but also with first responders and their family. And it was so bad that they sent the first responders homes, the fire people and the paramedics, and to go get help, like right after the incident because of what they saw. That's where animals like this come in to help, to comfort, to give them something. It's amazing because we forget our first responders, the things they see day in and day out, right? They're the first to respond to things when it's at its worst. And what they live with is, we can't describe it. Wounded Paw is amazing. Their mission is simple: connect our furry best friends with our nation's heroes. Their motto, save a paw is to save a life. Now is your chance to get on board and to help. They're looking for your extra car, truck, RV. You can actually turn that into a vehicle for change. You're going to be saving a paw to save a life. It's simple and easy to donate. You can also donate cash. Go to woundedpawproject.org. That's woundedpawproject.org, or call 678-4PAW, right? That's 844-678-4729. Find out how you can give. Take a look at the work they're doing. It is incredible. woundedpawproject.org. Chad Benson Show.
No fake outrage here, just the real thing. The Chad Benson Show.
Joseph Maldonado Passage has several nicknames, but is best known by one.
Hey, I'm Joe Exotic, the gay gun-carrying redneck with a mullet.
In countless highly produced online videos, Joe Exotic is seen interacting with and sometimes being attacked by the animals in his Oklahoma wildlife park. Now he's been convicted of trying to have a Florida animal rights activist killed.
The judge had it right. The jury had it right.
Lauren Lowe now owns the zoo that Joe Exotic founded and is relieved at his 22-year prison term.
Hopefully he will not have access to the internet.
Jim Ryan, ABC News.
Things can get a little crazy around here.
All right, I just got to be honest. The gun-toting, exotic animal-owning redneck trying to kill an animal rights activist. Only in America. Only in America. Oh, my goodness me. Oh, to say it ain't true, Joe. I can't believe it. You was railroaded. No. Idiots. So funny. Only in America. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. This is funny. So Justin Trudeau, the famous Canadian Prime Minister, blackface wearing, now bearded hipster, is being shamed because it's now Donut Gate, right? So he was going to a meeting in Winnipeg. Oh, for sure. You know, Winnipeg there. He's going to a full day of cabinet meetings. He stopped by a place called OH Donuts, and he bought a bunch of boxes of donuts to take to the cabinet meeting, which is great, right? He said, thanks for the fuel, #shop local. People got upset. Went to O-Donuts website. Why? Well, it's expensive, right? They charge a little bit more of probably gourmet donies, as I would say. You know, $35 for 12 Canadian, so $26 for 12 donuts, regular, or assortment of specialty donuts is about $35. So people started hammering him. Just another elitist selfie moment, wrote one person. Nothing says middle class like a $47 dozen donut box. Shut up. First of all, Kara, you pointed out best when you said at least he's bringing good food to the donuts, right? That's $50 a donuts. That ain't crap, right? We don't want crap. You're bringing good donuts, right? If you go and you buy the donuts at the gas station, we know. He brought donuts, so as far as I'm concerned, he bought himself donuts. My favorite prime minister. I don't care about all the other stuff. You know my love of donuts on the show? You brought donuts that matter. They were tasty and delicious, I bet. But it's just amazing. You can't do any. He bought donuts for the cabinet. And people are like, oh, first of all, he didn't pay for those. The government did. Secondly, is there nothing else you can bitch about? You wake up a victim, you go to bed as a victim, right? Oh, another elitist moment from the rich spending donut guy. You idiots. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. Text the program as well. I go. I start my morning early, 3 o'clock. Finish sometimes 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night. I work hard, love it, and I've got tons of energy. Try to take care of myself as best as possible. Last night, after getting here at 3, leaving at 6:30 at night, long day, I went and worked out. What did I do right before? Took my soft chews from Super Beets. It was amazing. Super Beets is incredible. You know what Beets with the nitrates do? They help you with circulation, give you tons of energy, help you with normal blood pressure. Now with these soft chews, not only are they convenient, they taste great, and they got grapeseed extract from the Loire Valley, which is clinically shown to support healthy blood pressure. Now is your time to grab some of these. You're going to love them. They taste great. And again, the energy, it's just amazing what Super Beets has done. Very convenient for people like me who are always on the go. Go to superbeatsradio.com/Chad. When you buy 2 bags, they throw a third one in for free. That's superbeatsradio.com/Chad. superbeatsradio.com/Chad. At Chad Benson Shows your Twitter. Feel free to text me. Check out the Instagram as well. Follow along on all the social media sites. We're always doing something and up to something throughout the day, in the evenings, in the early hours. We go, kids. Have a wonderful rest of your Thursday. I see Friday, and as always, night, Jack.
This is The Chad Benson Show.